Hello and welcome back, dear students. Today in communication, we'll be discussing about the next point, that is physiological barrier. Before that, again, just a short recap of what we have studied before this is the introduction of communication, what it is, to sharing knowledge, definition of possible different communications, okay, how communication can be achieved, the process which is called as the components, detail importance of each and every component, what is the role of those all 8 components that we have seen, that is the source, message, encoding, channel, decoding, receiver, feedback, and context. Okay, with diagrammatic representation we have discussed it. Then before that, again, uh, the barriers we have started. Barriers are nothing but the problems, obstacles, hindrance, or the said to be the things which doesn't allow the process of communication effective, which makes problem in a flow, smooth flow of communication process, that is called as a barrier. Okay, in that, the types of barriers we have started and completed two in detail. That is, first we have discussed was the psychological barrier. Okay, these are nothing but the problems, the mindset of both sender and receiver, which creates generally problem if imbalanced, if mental disturbance is there with any person. Okay, the communication process will not be properly completed, or it will not be effective. And the reasons behind psychological barrier we have covered, that is the lack of attention, poor retention, different emotions, then premature evaluation, closed mind and filtering, then again, not trusting any person, there is distrust and defensiveness. These were different reasons behind the psychological barrier which forms in the mind of either sender or receiver. Then second we have completed is the physical barriers, which includes the environmental and natural conditions surrounding to the sender and receiver, where they are involved in communication, like we have seen the noise, okay, the disturbance which is find uh, as a problem or as obstacle for, again, listening the message in a proper way. Okay, so that it will not be understood in a clear sense by the receiver. And deep space, that also we have seen, which is making another problem. Then the causes of physical barrier we have seen, that is environmental, for example, raining, wind, thunder, which is there, temperature variations are there, then time and distance, that is the space which is there, okay, in between two persons. Then also another reason what we have discussed was the information overflow. If the if the center is giving more and more information regarding some topic at the same time, there can be a overflow of that information, and which will not be understood by the receiver, and it can become the barrier, and which is actually the example of physical barrier. Now today we'll be discussing about the third and also an important barrier called as physiological barrier. Students, first of all, keep in mind, okay, both are different: physical barrier and physiological barrier. Okay, even the first one what we have discussed was the psychological barrier. So always uh, remind them properly what are their spellings and what are the causes behind them. Okay, physiological barriers. These physiological barriers of communications generally occurs due to reasons which are physical condition of both sender or the receiver. Okay, physical condition means they might have some disabilities which are called as physical disabilities, like any problem in their sense organs which are their sense, particularly the listening, that is hearing problem. Okay, in ear it might be, then in enable some person is unable to see something clearly, that is the eyesight problem of that person. Okay, so what are these are physical problems. Some these disabilities are there with the person, and if they are coming in between understanding some process of communication, okay, which can be called as a physiological barrier. And always effective communication requires we know correct and proper functioning of all the senses of body of both persons, sender as well as receiver. Okay, example mention is if a person with this short term memory loss will be unable to transmit the message, and definitely the communication by that person is failing generally. Might be reminding the best example of this short term memory loss was shown in the movie, it is Gajani, if you remind. Okay, the person, the hero of that movie, that is actor, is shown to be suffering from this disease, short-term memory loss, and he forget many things, okay, for some time, and due to that reason he doesn't communicate properly, and which is said to be the physiological barrier. Okay, now let us see different causes of the physiological barriers. There are again, just I told, many depending upon the problems in different body parts of a person. Okay, first is the hearing impairment. Hearing impairments means, in this case, if a receiver is having a problem of hearing, okay, it can be partial hearing problem or completely problem in hearing. A receiver with this hearing loss cannot receive the message. It is obvious. Okay, है ना, म्हणतात ज्याला ऐकू येत नाही, समजा काही पर्सेंटेज ऐकू येत नाही किंवा पूर्ण ऐकू येत नाही, सिंपल, if they are not able to hear means the receiver will not be able to understand the message, and then if not listen means it is over. Okay, which will be the physiological barrier. And if uh, the hearing problem is very severe, okay, the person completely will not be able to hear anything. And if it is not that much problematic, means some partial problem is there, even it can be even it can be a hindrance or barrier in the process, because a person having such partial problem might not hear some word. Okay, means थोडं ऐकू येईल थोडं ऐकून येणार. Okay, and we know it is not again good during communication. Okay, every time every word must be understood and heard by the person who is receiving, otherwise misunderstanding, misinterpretation, hence a physiological barrier which becomes. And automatically what happens in that case is that person is unable to get the intended meaning, which is actually intended meaning is for what reason the communication has been done, or what message is to be or has been sent by the sender. It will not be understood, okay, by the receiver. And again we know the communication process, an important component is the feedback. Okay, when the feedback can be given if the receiver is giving feedback, and we know the receiver if not able to hear it a complete message, and automatically the process of communication is not completed. It is a person having deafness means we are not able to hear. Then next is vision impairment. Vision impairment means a person having problem in not uh, seeing anything, means there can be again percentage of the problems. Okay, and there are two conditions generally. Okay, those who are using the glasses. Okay, there are different types of lenses are there in persons. They are if they are using some glasses. Okay, and they are supposed to be having some numbers, and those numbers are due to their abilities or inabilities to read something. Depending upon that, they were read means to check their numbers. Generally the eye specialists used to give them to read something, and which is near, which is kept near as well as kept away from the person. Okay, so which is called as if two types are there generally. First is the disability is called as myopia. Myopia means short sightedness. Okay, short sightedness. While another one is the hypermetropia. Hypermetropia, which means long sightedness. These things are there, as well as the blur vision. Sometimes people were having that problem in their lens. Okay, they are not able to see the clear image. Okay, the blurring is there. Okay, so it's said to be the physiological barrier with that person. And if they are unable to see the message which is not clear one, so automatically what will happen, the descriptions or the intended meaning will not be understood by them, because several times some images are there, reading is only the source available, so at that time this barrier can be a problem. Third one, third reason in the physiological barrier is speech disorder. Speech disorder, generally we know speech is very important, and which is actually the tool. Okay, verbal communication, it requires this proper speech or speaking ability of any person, and there are various speech disorders found in people like apraxia. This apraxia is inappropriate movement of the tongue to pronounce the word properly, correctly. Sometimes other problems like cluttering, muteness is also found, and what these are responsible for. Okay, they affect the fluency, that is in ability of a person to speak the words fluently and correct pronunciation, and so automatically what will be there, it will prevent, if such problems are there in the person, it will prevent the communication collectively. Hence it is a physiological barrier. Next is the physical condition. Physical condition means overall body problems which if are there. Okay, uh, it can be related with the mind also. Actually we know generally sayings is there, the body causes disease to mind, and problems of mind can cause disease to the body, and automatically which becomes a barrier. Okay, so for example, we'll take the illness. During illness, what happens? Okay, if fever is there, the pain is there. Okay, any disease which is due to which you are not feeling well, sickness. Okay, lower in the energy, and many things are there which is causing fatigue, even stress to the body, and these collectively are called as the physical conditions which are responsible for the uh, problem or as a barrier in the communication process. Next cause of physiological barrier is alertness. Okay. Alertness means an emotional trauma, for example, shock, or some mental condition of a person, their uh, brain is prevented from understanding number of things during that particular time. If okay, we know shock म्हणजे झटका, काहीतरी झटका. It doesn't mean always that electric shock, but similarly some uh, condition, some incidents has happened to that person, and due to that particular reason the person is under shock. So at that time, the that person, either sender or receiver, will not be able to prepare the message or understand the message in that particular condition. In such physiological conditions, the perception and alertness toward the message become very low. It is obvious, if you are under shock, what will happen? You will not be alert. Alert means attended or having concentration over the communication process. Okay, even if it is there, but it might be very low. So effective communication will not take place. And when the physiological condition of the person's body and mind is not good, okay, generally people do not want to talk about anything. This is found several times. Okay, actually always, if we take the example, if, some person has lost a friend of his, okay, in some uh, incidents like exam accident has happened. Okay, so definitely that person will not be having the interest, or he will not be wanting to talk about that particular person or the incidents which has happened to his friend due to that shock or trauma which is there. Okay, and which is said to be the physiological barrier. Okay, and said to be the very uh, problematic even for every barrier which is there. Next is the fourth one is the language barrier, very important one. Okay, language, we know when a language is there, okay, which should be always used during communication, which is understood by the both persons, both parties, sender and receiver, okay, who are called as, who are actually interacting with one another, okay, who are making communication with one another. It can be two or a group of people whoever are there, but if the common language is used, then automatically that common language will facilitate the a proper and easy exchange of all the things, all the messages. They can be feelings or emotions, okay, uh, as well as knowledge and the other, definitely all things are there. So if you are assign, because the sign, the words, the terminology is used in any language, if they are common and if they are understood clearly to one another, means the communication becomes easy and effective one, है ना. तुम्हाला जी भाषा कळते ती जर यूज केली समोरच्याने तुमच्याशी बोलण्यासाठी, तर तुम्हाला ते पूर्ण कळेल. इट इज देअर. Communication becomes particularly difficult in a condition where uh, people do not understand their others language, okay, which is each other's language, you can say, which is applicable. If language is different of two persons who are talking, so it becomes very difficult condition over there. And inability to communicate using a language, okay, can be called as a language barrier, which is, you can say, definition of language barrier. Okay, inability to communicate effectively using a language, a single language, is known as language barrier to the communication process. If both do not use the same language or the same sign symbols, the words, there will be definitely no meaning of the communication process which is held between such two persons. Hence, they have to try with the words, these languages which should be common with both of them. Now, let us see the different causes of this language barrier. Okay, again, there are many causes actually. First cause, that is A, is the regional accent and dialects. Regional accent, region means area wise, the language were spoken and pronounced in different ways. Accent, I think I have given the example in practicals. I will just repeat. If from the Marathi language, okay, we know Marathi language is spoken in Maharashtra particularly, which is said to be the common language. But even, okay, if you go from Nandurbar district to Dhule district or Jalgaon district or Nagpur. Okay, area wise, region wise, the way of speaking that particular language will be different one. Okay, even though it is Marathi, but some of the words, the way in which it has been spoken will not be understood properly, even though you'll understand something, but if some problems are there, it will not be said to be effective. And there is only example in a single state, but if you take it from one state to another, okay, there will be problems. Like if Maharashtrian person is meeting or interacting with some person who is living in Andhra Pradesh and both are using different language, so completely both will not understand a single word of one another. Okay, unless otherwise they are knowing their own language, their other language which is spoken by the other person. So there is a regional problem, okay, in the language which are there. The people belonging to different places definitely use their own accent and dialects. Okay, dialects means the area wise way of speaking a specific language. Just I told dialects again. Okay, from one district to another district, there can be some difference in this way of speaking. Same language, importantly. Okay, so the meaning and interpretation of some words can be different, and due to that, which may causing a confusion in the mind of sender or receiver. And similarly, the implications of words and phrases can create further misunderstanding about it. Okay, if you are using some phrases, uh, the specific terminologies which are known and spoken in only that specific language, okay, those things are not known to one another, particularly means in different language, speaking different language which were spoken by the persons, will create a problem of understanding the message. For example, there are actually many. A general example is the abbreviation LOL. Okay, capital LOL. Okay, some may interpret it in their own way. Okay, lots of love. LOL, again many other actually meaning can be understood, which is generally used in chatting, but some other person may interpret the meaning of the same in other way. So it may happen even though it is used in a common language, that is English, but meanings can be different one. So it can be a type of a language barrier. Then second cause of language barrier is use of jargons. These are actually uh, the specific terminologies, the words which are spoken as per the speciality of a person. Speciality particularly means the area in which they are specialist of, which are called as technical words used by professionals. For example, if we take communication between a doctor and a lawyer, okay, doctors generally, if they are using their own terminologies while communication, and we cannot means a general people or the other persons who are not from the health profession, they will not understand all the words and all the things which are told by the doctor. On the other side, if a lawyer is there, okay, they know each and everything about the laws, rules and regulations, okay, about that particular nations. So again, they will be using many of the terminologies which are known to only their uh, similar profession person, okay, which are called as jargons. And if this is happening, okay, two persons belonging to different profession, if they are using the words which are spoken in their only profession, okay, the other will not be understanding it simply, which are called as jargons. If they start talking with one another and both of them will not get the meaning of in actually the exact meaning, if they are using same language but the jargons which are the technical words, okay, they are used in their own specific profession, so there will be a sort of barrier in the process of communication. Then third reason is the difference in language and unclear speech. Difference in language is two different people speaking in two different language cannot communicate with each other. Okay, let's start. I just told in this language barrier. Okay, completely two people means who are having a language which is spoken by one another which is completely different than one another, and automatically which will be the huge problem actually. Okay, again we can take the examples. If a person belongs to India who is moving to China, and we know Indian does not understand Chinese, okay, and Chinese people doesn't understand Hindi, which is actually the common term, mother tongue of Indian, which is called as Hindi. Okay, they will not understand one other's language, hence which will be not useful if both are using their own terminologies. Instead, what should be done? The language known to one another, you can say English, should be utilized while speaking. Similarly, another problem which can also be there called as if a person who is having a small voice means the tone of speaking is smaller or lesser. Okay, the volume, if less, will not be understood by the receiver. Okay, even though they are speaking in the common language, and people will have difficulty in understanding the meaning of message because it has not been understood properly, and will not be able to give the feedback because of due to the reason of low volume or small voice of the person. Then another cause of language barrier can be a grammar and the spelling mistakes which are there. Okay, grammar makes these collectively makes a huge communication barrier, particularly when it is in written communication. Okay, we know if a spelling is problem, a huge it is it is said to be the big mistake. Okay, we'll take the examples. A person who is typing some words, we'll take example like a dawn, okay, and done. Now I have done this work. Okay, if person is typing this word done, what is the spelling of done? D, it should be, okay, DONE. But if the person who is typing has typed it as DON, means what? Dawn. So actually the meaning of both words are completely different. Okay, again, can take another example: affect and effect. Okay, both are having different meanings. And what happens generally when it is typed in computers, the computer will not make it as a wrong spelling, because why? It is used in English. Okay, but grammar, if it is problematic, it will be given some marking. But what happens, the whole meaning of the sentence will be changing, and the sentence will not be understood by the readers. Hence, always the grammar should be correct, the spellings. Okay, even when this is the problem, even when the language is same, okay, the speaker and the receiver are understanding the language, but either of them are having this problem of grammar or spelling mistakes, it will be a language barrier. Okay, now next barrier is culture barrier. What is culture? First of all, we should understand. Okay, when a person, okay, to many persons were living together, means in a society, for example, okay, society is a group of people who are having similar uh, behavior, some arts which are used by them, languages will be similar, the traditions will be similar, the signs and symbols they are using in the communication will be similar, their thinking will be similar, their ideas will be of similar kind. So these are generally spread. Okay, they are socially transmitted, everything, and which is learned and shared in a specific group of people. Particularly, if we'll take the example in any country, okay, or in any area, region, they're having their own culture. It is said, no, culture. If we take the example of state, Maharashtrian culture is different, Gujarat culture is different. The way of living, and living involves everything. This I told, the behavior, arts, language, tradition, science, ideas, thoughts, and they will be different. It is handed down generally, means all these traditions or the culture were spread. Actually, it should be transmitted from one generation to another, and a single culture generally has uh, inclusion of many subcultures in it, so which can be a barrier itself. Okay, if different things are there, if one culture person is communicating with another culture person, people belonging to different culture have different mindset, just I told. Okay, see, if they are similar, since persons of same group or same culture, they will have similar mindset, but we know, okay, even in two regions, people, two states are a different mindset, different language, different sign and symbols which are used in speaking their languages. Okay, and when people belonging to different culture make communication with one another, these all factors become barrier. Okay, and you can take example, for example, in India, okay, different culture lies in different region, just I told, okay, in different states. So communication will not effectively convey the intended meaning which should be there. Okay, with what we know about communication process, okay, each and everything which is understood by the sender should be understood by the receiver. Okay, understanding should be similar, exactly same way, and if it is not there, means it is a barrier. And when we say when we say culture barrier, this is a problem when two people of different region or nations having different culture interact with another or communicate with one another, their culture becomes a problem. So we'll be stopping over here. There are several causes of cultural barrier also that we'll be discussing in our next lecture. Thank you.